there, I'm Anna Wild of The Birth Whisperer, where you discover the courage, calmness and confidence that you need for giving birth. Today you'll meet a mother who walked the middle path, doing her own research so that she could respond to birth in an optimistic but realistic way. Rebecca Young has an 11-month-old daughter called Nina, and her favourite day includes walking with her family, swimming in the sea, cooking delicious food and hanging out with her daughter before bed. She's also a chemistry teacher at secondary school, and she really enjoys being in education because she hopes she can inspire at least some of her students to go out and make the world a better place. So I really hope that her birth story will inspire you to feel good about childbirth. So Rebecca, I'm so pleased that you decided to join us today to talk a little bit about your birth story, which is now like 11 months ago.
Yeah, it's gone fast.
Yeah. So when you think back to that time, what are your memories of birth? What was it actually like for you?
It was really a top achievement for me. I think it was actually very similar to how I expected it was going to be. I think it's really hard to know how it's going to be, and we all probably try and imagine what it's going to be like. And I feel the preparation that Patrick and I had done for the birth was awesome, and I felt quite aware of what my body was doing as the birth unfolded, and that in itself was quite reassuring.
Right.
Yeah, so it was cool.
Yeah, so you said that the birth actually unfolded or was similar to what you expected it would be.
Yeah.
What were you expecting?
Good question. I guess I was really focused on what was going to happen to my body. So I was expecting that I would feel my uterus start to contract and all those things. And so when all that started happening, I was like, okay, that's what's happening at the moment. And then I remember when I went through that phase when I'd fully dilated, and I started to have some thoughts of, whoa, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. And then I thought, hold on, I've probably fully dilated now, and the baby's probably going to start coming down now. So I guess I felt like at the time these things were happening, I could actually think about what was going on and why I was feeling the way I was feeling.
Right. So in a way, you were prepared for the idea that as you reached that fully openness, that you might have some feelings of real overwhelm and uncertainty about whether you could do it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was nice to know that that was normal to feel that way.
Right. And so the preparation and the education that you'd given yourself, even though it was a very huge experience, some part of you clicked in and was like, oh, wait a sec, this is what happens. Like, this is normal.
Yeah, and I think that helped me relax as well.
Okay. Yeah. And I liked the way you said earlier that you were very aware of what your body was doing.
Yeah, I could feel what my body was up to, and it was natural. I mean, and birth is natural, isn't it? So I could understand that my body was basically doing all of the things it needed to do to give birth. So that was quite cool.
Yeah. Because it is an experience that you've never had before, and I think you named that when you said you didn't know what to expect. I think a lot of women feel a bit anxious that it's something you've never done. Like, how's it going to be? What would you say to a mum who was nervous about not knowing what it's going to be like?
There's not much in life now that we don't know. We try and find out as much as we can about everything, don't we? So I guess there's a bit of adventure in that too. I guess that's how I see it. Like I liked not knowing if Nina was a boy or a girl. That was part of the excitement. And I guess at the end of it all, I was going to meet Nina, the baby. So yeah, I don't know. It was just cool. It was quite cool not knowing. Yeah.
I actually like the way you said it's a bit of an adventure, and that we don't have many of those types of adventures left unless we go on some amazing walk or go into the wilderness, or all sorts of like physical challenges can be an adventure. And in a way, you're saying that you had that attitude to birth.
Yeah. It's something that you're not quite sure how it's going to unfold, but you know at the end of it you're going to have a baby, which is awesome.
Yeah, right. So can you just tell us a little bit about like how long were you at home and how did you know when it was time to go to the hospital?
Yeah, that's such a big question, because I think that's something that anyone who decides that they would like to go to the hospital, then that's the big question, because you want to go at the right time. And there was probably a little bit of anxiety around that for me, actually, that I really didn't want to go to the hospital too early. So I just decided with Patrick, okay, if we have the baby at home because we just don't make it to the hospital in time, that's cool. I'd rather that than go to the hospital too early. So Nina, I started having contractions about dinner time on the day of her due date, lucky me. And then the contractions were getting really close together, like about 3 or 4 minutes apart in the middle of the night. But it was the middle of the night, and I thought, oh, I don't really want to ring the midwife in the middle of the night. We'll just wait. We'll just keep waiting. And things actually slowed down. I had a hot shower, and then the contractions slowed down to like 20 minutes apart. And so I was about 7 o'clock in the morning, rang the midwife and said, oh, it was getting quite intense last night, but now it's slowed down. And she said, look, just keep on keeping on, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll come around in a couple of hours and just have a wee look and see how far along you are. So she came at about 10:30 in the morning, and she said I'd fully effaced, so the cervix had thinned right down, but I hadn't started dilating yet. And that was cool. It was really good to know. I liked knowing where things were at. And she said she would go away. Oh, she gave me a sweep, actually. And then she said, look, if you want to get things moving, I recommend maybe go for a walk, have sex, because we all know that's going to bring baby on faster. And I was like, okay, we can do this. And so we went for a walk and we had sex, and then everything just started happening. It was really, the contractions started coming on much more intense and much, much closer together, like about 3 minutes apart. My water still hadn't broken at that stage either. And so we just thought, timing's right. So we jumped in the car, went to the hospital at about 12 o'clock. So it wasn't long after she'd been that we went up, and we got there. And I was, I think, 4 centimetres dilated. So it was perfect.
The idea of having sex, like, between contractions, or, like, it's not really very romantic, but I have heard, and I know personally from my own experience, that's a really good way to kickstart labour. So, yeah.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like in your case it helped to get things going. So
yeah. And the walking. Yeah. I didn't walk far, but it was really good just to keep that exercise up. Yeah.
Right. So once things really started amping up, was it painful, and how did you cope with the pain?
I think for me, yeah, it was painful, in particular in my lower back. It just felt like I had a lot of pressure, but it has to be remembered that that's only during the contraction. The rest of the time, it was completely painless, and those breaks were really nice.
What did you do during the breaks?
During the breaks, I just relaxed. Yeah, I just moved myself into positions where I felt really comfortable. I may have used the Swiss ball, for example, and just sort of laid over that, like leaned against it or sat on it and sort of jiggled around. Yeah, I really loved the breaks. It was great. And it wasn't as though I didn't think, oh, it's going to be coming back on again soon. It was just really nice to have those breaks. But yeah, I think the hot shower directed on the back was really good for me. It made a big difference. And also Patrick did some acupressure on my lower back, sort of on the sacrum area, which was from what you showed us. And that was a really good distraction. It kind of focused my feeling elsewhere, away from what I was feeling. I felt that the breathing really helped. So I did really long, slow breath in and a really long, slow breath out. And I just did that all the way through the contraction. And then once the contractions stop, then my breathing might return to a bit more normal. But I felt that it gave me something to focus on, and just having that focus on breathing and on kind of visualizing the baby getting lots of oxygen and keeping calm, it was really awesome. That was probably the number one tool.
Right, so keeping the focus on long, slow, calm breaths.
Yeah, it made a huge difference for me, just keeping me calm and giving me something to focus on.
Right, so just one breath at a time, one contraction at a time. You know, one other area that people feel concerned about, mothers or women who are about to give birth feel anxious about, is the actual part where baby comes down and the head comes out. Like, how is that actually going to happen? I'm just going to like break in half. I'm going to split open. How was that for you?
I was, again, I couldn't understand how that was actually going to occur and how it was possible. But to be perfectly honest, it was like a Band-Aid being ripped off. It was quick, that part. It was the fastest part. And it's a complete blur, because then I had Nina. Like, it was just all of a sudden she was born and it was fine. That was fine, really fine for me.
What did it feel like to meet your baby for the first time?
It was amazing. It was just the most amazing experience, and I think that's the focus of the birth, isn't it? That you're going to meet your baby and you just don't know how amazing it's going to be until it happens, and that's what everyone should be really excited about when they're going into a birth.
One thing I really noticed, because I met you and Patrick before you had your baby, and I really noticed that you had quite a moderate or a balanced approach to birth. It was like you really wanted a natural birth, but I didn't get the sense that you were opposed to having pain relief. You know, you were open to everything in a way, and yet had a sort of a trusting attitude. Can you speak to that briefly?
I guess I felt that for me, I like to be educated about things. So if I'd gone into the birth and I hadn't been aware of what the options are, that if I'd had to go down the pathway of having intervention, I think I would have got scared, and I may have ended up having a cascade of intervention, one thing after another. So I felt like I was going to go into it knowing what all of those options are, and that way hopefully I would be relaxed if I had to go down any of those pathways. So for example, I went and did an antenatal course, and I found out about caesareans and about what that meant and about how they work and how many people would be in the room, for example, things like that might bring fear on. And I guess I didn't focus on that, and I thought, if that happens, it happens, and hopefully it won't happen to me. But that really helped me just have a bit more of a picture of what that would be if it did happen.
How did you not focus on that too much? How did that not become the dominant sort of picture for you?
I didn't see why I should need a caesarean. I mean, I'm healthy and I didn't have any complications during my pregnancy, and everything was looking really good. So I just thought the odds of me having to have a caesarean were really low anyway. So I thought, if I needed a caesarean, it would obviously be because something bad had happened, and so I would need one. But the odds of me needing one, I thought, were probably quite low.
And so just finally, if you had any words of advice for someone about to give birth, what would you say about the whole experience?
I would say make sure that you have support people that you really trust, and people that are decisive, and communicate to them what you want and how you want to be communicated with during the birth, because then you can just feel at ease and you've got that trust that they're looking out for you, and no matter what happens, they're going to help make a really good decision for you and your baby in the birth. I think just focus on meeting your baby, and that's it. That's what's going to happen. You're going to meet your baby, and that's the most exciting thing. And try not to focus on exactly how it's going to occur, but in the end it will happen. And yeah, just look forward to it and try not to fear the birth.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Rebecca. It's just been great.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Oh, look! And here's the beautiful Nina. Hello, Nina. Oh. Thank you so much for watching. If you've been inspired, please share, make a comment, send this link to your friends, post on Facebook, and sign up for more birth wisdom that I share in emails at thebirthwhisperer.com, because your voice supports respectful, positive childbirth for all mothers and babies.